got my pistols in my pocket. I'm Alabama bound. I got my pistols in my pocket. I'm Alabama bound. Sure ain't looking for no trouble, but nobody gonna dog me around. Dog me around. Nobody's gonna dog me around. American Blues. Good morning, brothers, and it's a coffee in the morning, and my mood is elevated because I have my family with me. I've got both my daughters, my son's not far away, and I've got some extended family, a couple of young fellas that have been with me all week. Anyway, I've got a lot of sons. They're just not all from my own blood. Actually, even my own son that's lived with me forever is not my own blood. I want to talk this morning about doing something that really fires up your joy every day, sparks your joy, but also puts food on the table, pays the rent, puts fuel in your truck. Something that's sustainable, that you can look after and raise your children, go through this life and do the things you want to do, get to the places you want to get to. And it can be any number of things. For me, for the first part of my younger life, it was being a musician, playing music. And as you can see, I wasn't a great musician. I was pretty average. That's why I sort of started this song off. The real instrument for me is not actually the guitar. I'm not a great guitarist. Oh, I got by enough to play shows, but this has always been my instrument. Old dog, old dog, old dog, old dog, get up that hill, get up that hill, in the morning light, get up that hill. I travel with this thing for miles and hundreds, thousands of miles, so many miles. In fact, I have a certificate from Guinness in the studio next door, if you can call it a studio. It's a broken old down room actually, with a few bits of stuff in for recording, but there's a certificate from Guinness for the most travelled musician for, I think it was 1999. Anyway, don't remember, that was in Europe because I travelled so much. Today's talk is about you finding out what it is that fires up your joy, makes you happy, sparks that really, really exciting feeling inside yourself, that passionate feeling, but also creates income. Now, one of the blokes that I sort of helped out and talked to along the way, won't say his name, but he lost his wife in a tragic car accident a couple of years ago now. He followed my other channel, and the reason he followed my other channel was his partner was Asian, and she used to enjoy watching my girlfriend, who sometimes would be with me in some of my videos, was also Asian. And that's how they kind of got to meet, and then tragically she was killed. And he was working in a job on a dairy farm that wasn't him. He was good at what he did, a really awesome bloke, but what he really always wanted to do was he wanted to become a culler, because he loved the hunting. So a culler is someone who goes out into the bush, and if there's a pest problem with too many goats or too many pigs or too many deer, it does happen. There are places like it, believe me. A lot of you hunters will be scratching your head, but there are places in New Zealand where they're overrun with deer, mostly big backcountry farms. Goats has always been an ongoing thing, problems, because it's not an animal that everybody wants to target, and they don't actually have a lot of offspring. I mean, a pig has a hell of a lot more offspring than a goat, but their numbers get out of control, so they need to employ cullers to cull them. And it's a job I did when I was much, much younger, and I enjoyed it. It's a job back in the old day when I was a culler. You could actually go off by yourself, and they used to pair us off in twos, but we'd end up splitting up two different gullies and staying apart all day. Today with I don't know how it is today because I haven't done it for so long, but today I'm sure it's quite different. You've got GPS gear which you track your animal, where you've shot it, you mark it, you tag it, and it's quite advanced. So there's a job that this bloke now is doing, and we talked about this before he got into it, and he really was a little bit anxious about quitting the job he was doing, because obviously as a dairy farmer, was actually working for a dairy farmer, he had an income coming in, he knew what he was doing, even though he didn't love it, but he was really not confident and feeling good about just dropping that job and starting something new. But we had this conversation. I said, look, you've got to do each day what it really is that you want to do, what your passion is. And that's what he does today. And he enjoys it, and we keep contact. And I love hearing his stories out in the bush, what's going on. For me personally, it was playing music. The thing about being a musician, which most musicians never understand, most people never really get, is it's not just playing music. Unless you have a recording contract with a big company, unless you're selling like millions of albums, or these days streaming gazillions of streams, you don't really make a huge living out of it. You're either a music teacher or you're playing in a pub or somebody's establishment. And for me, because I was never a famous recording artist, I sell a little bit of a few of my songs, but that actually didn't happen until I got back to New Zealand. And I'd say that it was a sort of a little niche I got into with my own Clay Tall Stories music. But you will be in that percentage of people that's always going to play music in an establishment, whether it's a great big beer hall in Germany, like I used to play, 4,000 or 5,000 people. During the Munich Beer Fest, God, the huge audiences I played to there. But also I played to a lot of places like in Bielefeld in Germany, in the Rathaus, 3,000 or 4,000 people on the weekend. There used to be an Irish pub down there which I'd play in. And 3,000 or 4,000 people is a huge audience to play to. But that establishment is only going to employ you for one reason. They don't care whether you're a fantastic singer or a fantastic guitarist. What they want is they want their clientele to stay at their establishment longer. They want them to buy more drink, to book a meal, to maybe book a room for the night, to come back again and bring their friends back. They want to be entertained. They want to feel that their establishment is a place that people go for the crack behind the bar, the Irish staff that are working there, the atmosphere that you bring to their establishment. So for me, as somebody who was never a real maestro on the guitar, I could play a bit of blues and had a reasonable feel. Oh, I'm a pretty good harmonica player, but it wasn't even those things. It was what I created, what I bought, and how I made everybody have a fantastic night. It's how I made everybody forget their shitty day at work, or their shitty relationship, or their shitty health problems, or everything that was going bad. And for that moment, music transcends everything and bringing people together. And that was something I was always naturally good at. I wouldn't say I was a natural musician, but I was a natural entertainer, and I would always connect with the audience. And even before a show, one thing I used to do was I used to walk around and just, back in the days before COVID, shake hands with everybody. How you going? I used to play under the name of Spider when I was in Germany. 13 years, 3,159 shows under the name of Spider. And I'd go around and shake hands with everybody. If it was a small audience, obviously if it was a massive big hall, I couldn't, but if it was a couple hundred people, I'd just go through the audience, and each table I might shake the hand of one person. I'd connect up. Good evening, I'm going to be a musician tonight, just want to say hi, and I hope you guys enjoy the stay tonight. A lot of musicians, in fact most musicians, won't do that. The majority of musicians are nervous before their gig. I would be excited before my gig. A lot of musicians will go into a little sort of shell and just create music and think that's going to be enough. If it's fantastic music, it just may well be enough. But I was right at the very height of my profession when I was a really good entertainer, and I was competing against a lot of musicians. I was on a circuit with about 450 different pubs, mostly Irish pubs. I also played in German beer halls, and I played on television, and I played at fests and festivals, but my bread and butter was the 450 Irish pubs back in the 90s and through the early 2000s. It was scattered out throughout Germany and through Greece and other places in Europe, but predominantly I played in Germany. I played in Austria, and I played in... Actually, I didn't play in Austria. I played very close to Austria. I played down in Munich, a lot of the ski fields and that, but not actually in Austria. My children were born in Austria. So I'd play all around, travelling every day, getting on another train or a bus, go to another village, meet another girl somewhere, I was having a great you could, when I say you can imagine, because you don't really know because you weren't there, but you could imagine what it was like for a young man in his prime to be playing to hundreds of people every night. It was pretty exciting. It was hard work too, and I worked very hard, and I loved it. And looking back on my life now, and whatever happens, I've had a pretty good run just when I was in Europe. It was good times. But I made it happen, and I did it in a way that brought value to every establishment, every place I played at, big or small. Didn't matter, it was a tiny little Kneipe, a little wee tiny cafe, it was a massive big stadium. I always made sure that I gave 100% to my audience in front of me. So they went away with something special. That was my way of sparking my joy, but also putting food on the table. And back in those days, I lived with a rucksack. I had a sleeping bag in it. I had 4 pair of socks and 4 pair of underwear. Only 1 pair of jeans, which I would wash occasionally at the venue upstairs. There'd always be a room called a musician's room. You'd sleep in. I might wash it there if they had a heater and hang it over the heater when it went to bed that night. And when the cleaning lady kicked me out in the morning, whoever kicked me out, I'd take them off the heater all sort of stuck and dried together and put on a fresh pair of underwear, put them on. And I'd do the same with my shirts. I used to have a couple of silk shirts I used to wash in the shower after the show. So looking after myself on the road, continually working, was a different lifestyle. But it was something that really, really fired me up and I loved. So for you, you might have something completely different other than being a musician. That was just my dream back then. You might have something like my mate I was just telling you about earlier that now's a colour. In colour, you might want to become a professional fishing guide or a hunting guide, or you might want to become a mechanic who makes supercars. It could be any number of things, but doing that job and getting to that job requires a number of things. When you get to it finally, you've got to add value to whatever establishment it is you're working in or in that field you're working for. You've got to give 100% so you add value, and that way it becomes sustainable. It becomes sustainable for your employer to keep on paying you, or the companies to keep on giving you the contracts, whatever it is, and also becomes sustainable for you because you get an income you can actually live off. And that's the whole key to it. So for you young guys now, that like young Spencer who's been staying with me the last week working, I'm trying to teach him the importance of adding value. And I have taught him that because he's come here and he's walked away with, paid him really well for the work he's done. He's made more money than he's probably ever made in his life. And I've explained to him that he's been paid this high amount above what the norm is because he's added value. And he's come to this farm here and he's added value. And hopefully he'll go away and he'll keep on adding value. Now, there are people in this life that will rip you off when you add value. And there's plenty of bosses that are arseholes, plenty of bosses that will try to take you for your blood. And you have to recognize that. And I've been teaching my children that. Understand what your value is. So understanding what your value is really important too, because you can either charge too much or you can charge too little. So understanding and having a concept of how you're bringing value to a business is paramount to succeeding. There's nothing worse than somebody who gouges their customers. And I had a young guy for years ago that I've been looking after. We're talking like he's now in his 30s. It's over 20 years. And he's now got a business and he's come back to do some work for me. And he's overcharged me way too much. He's almost doubled the mileage. I said, charge me for your mileage, but you got to pay for that. And he's done it probably not on purpose. It's just the way he's done some bad bookkeeping. And I'm not going to employ him anymore because he's done too much. And you guys know yourself when you take your car to a service station, if you know what it requires to work on a vehicle yourself, if you've done all those jobs yourself and you look at the sheet and there's an oil change and they've done it degrees and it's like $300, well, you hold on a minute. I know what it costs to do this. I can do it myself. I know what my hours would take. This is a mechanic doing. They're charging here, they're calling it a technician these days, say $90. Well, that's reasonable, I suppose, but they've charged me for 2.5 hours when that job would only take an hour on the lift, maximum. 3/4 an hour for me, actually. But you look at that there and you know straight away. This is why a lot of women often get ripped off. And that's not a chauvinistic thing. It's just a reality that most women don't do their own oil changes. My daughter does. She does all her own oil changes and everything. But the majority of women don't. My girlfriend, she doesn't. So they often get gouged by the establishment that they're taking it to. So for you to understand your value, what it really is worth, once you understand your true value, then you can with confidence write that invoice out, or tell, if you're a musician, hey, my price for a private wedding is $2,000. Here's the breakdown. I need to hire gear. I need to take the morning off to take it out and then set it up, pre-sound check, and get the stage ready. I need to go home. I need to come back again and wait around for the actual time to start playing their music. Then when the final person's gone at 2 a.m. in the morning, I've still got to be there to break all the gear back. I've got to get the gear back to the hire company. Or if you've got your own gear, I've got to pay for that gear. And I've also got to learn these songs you've asked for. Here's my fee, $2,000. If you can break it all down, what you're doing, then that person, first of all, will understand, have a sort of a concept of what they're paying for. But really, nobody ever knows what the costs are. It's the same for, I'm getting acupuncture right now. So a session is around $100 or $120. This person has had to train for years to become a qualified acupuncturist. So it's all that stuff you're also paying for as well, not just the drive out to the studio to do the acupuncture, or at least the clinic, and all the stuff around the talks on the telephone. It's all the pre-stuff. So you also build that into your price, whatever you're doing. Now my mate Arb has rebuilt this kitchen here in my bedroom. He charged a really reasonable price. I think it was $65 an hour. And when I see the workmanship that he's done, and I really feel like the value is such a high value for what he's done, because he's such a good worker. But I've also paid other builders a similar amount, and they've done shitty work. So everyone's different in their workmanship, whatever it is, and you have to be honest with yourself about the value of your own workmanship. Don't inflate it with your ego. Find out and get a really good idea of what your value is. Then you can also apply that to your job. Hey guys, this is the Bro Check Club channel today. Thanks for subscribing to this channel. If you are interested in men's mental health and just shooting the shit and talking about stuff it's just a vlog channel, it's just talking, nothing else. And check on a brother and check on yourself. Check on yourself that you're doing what you're really passionate about in this life that you love. And if you're not real passionate about, then think about a change. This life it's no dress rehearsal. This is the main show. This is the main event. We only get one bash at it. So make sure that you're doing something that's sustainable, that you love every day, you're passionate about, and watch your whole life change. And go steady. See you later.